Give it up for our guest, president of the UFC, Dana White, is in the house.
By the way, Joy, Dana was running just a couple of minutes late because he's now on Conor McGregor time, right?
I'm always yelling at him about it, and here I am.
First of all, do you do like some push-ups or something before you get up there? Because this is a serious workout, keeping those two apart.
Yeah, no.
Hey, and by the way, you picked Conor up and just swung him around like he was nothing, right?
I was in fear of the fight getting hurt, believe me.
What was your reaction to everything that happened yesterday?
Conor was talking at that point, and Conor and I both thought that Eddie threw the chair over there. I thought he threw the chair, but Eddie really just pushed the chair out of the way, and it skidded across the floor, and Conor was going to pick it up and throw it apparently. So,
what was your reaction to the press conference in a whole yesterday?
You know, I've been doing this for 16 years. You know, I've been through it all. It was my first possible chair throwing incident, but I'm going to have to start getting that plastic lawn furniture up there, because those chairs weigh about 15 pounds. So, yeah, it was. You know, every time you get in between, I missed the headbutt. Joanna Jędrzejczyk headbutted Carolina yesterday, and I didn't see that coming. And my job is to make sure that doesn't happen.
Wow. So we just got finished debating. Conor McGregor, how much of what we saw yesterday was act, and how much of it is the real Conor McGregor?
If you hang out, you know, it's funny because when I first met Conor, Conor's always like this. So I asked his girlfriend, Dee, I said, is there any ever time that he is not like this? She goes, Dana, I swear to God, I wake up in the middle of the night and he's in his underwear running around shadow boxing and going crazy. So I guess it's always Conor.
Thank you.
Do you ever have to tell him, like, Conor, you got to tone it down, bro?
Well, throwing chairs,
right.
Yeah, you got to tone that. I don't ever tell these guys what to say. I mean, that's why every day something's popping out that somebody said this and somebody said that. You know, they can say whatever they want to do. They're grown adults. I'm there to make sure fights don't happen before the fights.
So this thing that's about to happen right across the street here, biggest UFC event ever. Huge draw at Madison Square Garden. What was the stat?
Biggest gate ever.
Biggest gate ever.
In Madison Square Garden history.
So you're a smart guy, and we need your perspective on this. Obviously, I grew up a boxing fan, as you well know, and now I'm clinging to what might be left of my boxing, which is maybe one more Floyd-Manny fight as they near ages 40 and 38. And tell us your perspective on what's happened to boxing and why has UFC risen to such heights of popularity?
Early in 2001, I started to see boxing unraveling here in this country at an amateur level. And when the amateur level starts to fall apart, what's that going to mean, you know, in 10, 20 years for the professional part of the sport? And my partner's I'm a big boxing guy, too. Love the sport of boxing my whole life. And when we got involved in mixed martial arts, we fell in love with the sport. The athletes were completely different than boxing.
How?
And these guys, the best always fight the best. Triple G, Canelo, Floyd, none of these guys want to fight each other.
Nope.
And they'll avoid the scary fights to take a lot of other fights to make money. In the UFC, the best fight the best every time there's an event.
And yet, sometimes you lose the best quickly, right?
Well, you're not the best if you lose. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the best always rise to the top, and they take on. There's never a case in the UFC where a guy was dodging a guy. You know, they say, well, I don't know if he was that good because he never fought this guy or he never fought that guy. Riddick Bowe dropping belts in the garbage to not fight Lennox Lewis.
Yeah,
you know,
one more quick thought.
Go ahead.
Can UFC then, at what point can it rival the popularity of the National Football League or the National Basketball Association?
Well, if you look at the NFL in this country, it's massive, right? But in other countries, they don't care about it. The UFC is big all over the world, and we continue to grow. Our focus, you know, over the next couple of years are going to be Russia and China. The difference between us and the NFL is we will really get in there and really be successful.
But do you think you're limited somewhat in the U.S. because your best events are pay, where the World Series is for free, the Super Bowl is for free?
Well, it depends because, you know, obviously as we go into this new deal and start negotiating, our television deal is up, so we go into negotiations. Right. No sports rights. The UFC is the only sport out there. No other sports rights are up till 2022 or 21 or something. We're it. So we'll go in, we'll cut a new deal. Will there be more fights on television than there are on pay-per-view? That remains to be seen. But listen, everybody thinks that pay-per-view is dead or you can't. This sport was built on pay-per-view.
Right.